don't have a call screener set up yet. I'm trying to figure out a way to do it myself in the meantime, but let's get to our first caller. The parents want to talk about, this person's parents don't think mental health is a real problem. Hi, what was your name?
Hi, my name's Sky. How are y'all doing today?
Good, and yourself?
Hi, Sky.
I'm doing pretty good. I have the day off work today, so I was finally able to call in. So that's a great day.
Awesome. Yay. All right, what would you like to ask?
So my parents are religious. I am no longer religious, but they don't know that yet. And I'm the oldest of 4 siblings. So my 3 siblings are still like 11, 12, they're still pretty young. When I was growing up, my dad was diagnosed with a personality disorder.
Okay.
And there was a lot of traumatic events that happened around that and stuff. And I needed to be in therapy when I was like 14 or so. But because my parents are religious and think, just back up, God has got it. You need to just trust God more and stuff. I was never helped. I went to a very bad place, and it was a very bad time for me growing up. I am better now because I realized I had to go see a therapist. It wasn't just me, all this stuff. But I'm seeing the same trend in my siblings now. And I was just wondering if you guys had ever had anything like that where you had to like explain to your parents, no, this is not fake. This is not messed up. They need help. And talk about it.
Thanks, Allison. We'll answer that and get you some professional responses, and we'll give you our own personal responses. But we'll hang up with you now. But we will answer. Thank you, Allison.
Okay.
Or Sky. Sorry.
Okay.
So Andy, Daniel, what do y'all think?
Andy, you want to go first?
Yeah, well, Sky, congratulations. I just want to say you did the right thing by getting yourself into therapy, and you are spot on about being concerned about your younger siblings. It is a difficult slog to go through, dealing with these kind of family systems and trying to navigate them, especially when there are young children involved. A lot of the times, especially as an older child, you can be adultified. You can be an adult child. So there are these, within family systems, there are these children who feel like they have to take on adult roles. And the good thing is that you went to go see a therapist and that you're able to manage that kind of issue. In terms of your siblings, school systems can be a way to get people into services. When I was in middle school, my sister ran away from home a number of times. And one of the things that helped my family get into services, for me to get help, was me just crying in front of my guidance counselor and sharing stories. Because there is this kind of cult of silence, and telling stories, it's so important.
And unfortunately, there is an old machismo kind of way to look at mental health, where they view it as almost more weakness than anything else, and that a lot of times is in some ways at a root of a lot of these issues. Is they view it as personal weakness and not as strength, because admitting that you have something going on with you, it doesn't even have to be a problem, just something going on with you, and wanting to get help, that is strength. That is not weakness. Weakness is you having something going on and refusing to do something about it, and just letting it continue. So, I really want to say you're strong, Sky, for getting yourself taken care of and worrying for your family as well. And I do really wish you the best. And I would just advise to be as supportive as you can, and don't let them beat you into submission on that.
So there's a follow-up from Sky. I agree. However, their family homeschools, which helps them in academic ways, but not in this way. What do we do in that situation, or how can we help them?
That's when it comes to homeschooling, that does make it difficult. I would just have to say that if it gets too bad, obviously, if you worry about their safety, there is the nuclear option, getting CPS involved.
Yep.
If it gets too bad, especially if you were worried about their physical safety. But if they're not being physically harmed, it does make it tricky, and you're just going to have to do your best to be as supportive. And if your parents are throwing stuff out there, the best I could say is just make sure your family knows what the actual answers are, and not these flamboyant, strange, exotic religious answers that they come up with.
Yeah. I just want to say too, I just want to add on to what Daniel was saying. Here in the state of Massachusetts, you can anonymously make a report in case you do suspect that there's abuse going on. That being said, just being there and offering your younger siblings support, they will appreciate it for years to come, for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. Regarding your comment about weakness, that is actually something I still struggle with, because I was one of those people that was heavily taught or indoctrinated with that talking about your mental struggles is a weakness, and men don't do that. They tough it out. And if you did complain, it was, well, you're just kind of being a weakling right now. Just get over it. So that is still drilled in my head. There's times I'll go to vent to someone, and then I'll immediately stop myself, because I'm just I don't want to complain. I'm being a pansy with this. I don't want to do it. And I know that that's not rational. I don't think I'm actually being a pansy, but those thoughts are still in my head, which prevent me from many times opening up. Or there's times I've opened up to friends, and within 5 minutes, I'm like, I'm sorry, just forget it. I'm only complaining now. I don't worry about it. And it's, how do you get past that feeling?
Well, that's part of the toxic masculinity that's in our society, where it shows anytime you have adversity, that having any emotion attached to that adversity somehow makes you weak. And really, the honest answer is no, it doesn't make you weak. The fact that you're acknowledging it makes you strong. And I think that goes back to a kind of mindset from a long time ago that's really dated, and that we do need to get past. I completely understand where you're coming from, Ethan. I'm a military veteran. I know what it's like to have that kind of toxic masculinity, that chest beating kind of mentality, where to be anything other than manly men doing manly things was to be seen as weak and worthless.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm with you on that. I broke my leg when I was 9 years old, partly because I have this minor disability. And my father gave me a call up from work, and he said, "Today you are a man." I'm like, what does that mean? I broke my leg, and now somehow I'm a man?
Does that mean I became a man in the 7th grade when I broke my arm?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, it does.
But to be seriously, it gets better. I'm gonna bite Dan Savage's style here, because he had the "It Gets Better" campaign. But as you get older and you do the work, it gets better.
I agree. It's the more I try to focus on my mental health, the more open I am, and the better I am at trying to resolve or think about some of these things in a positive way. And a lot of it has to do with my language that I'm trying to catch up on. One of the therapists and Jenna have actually caught me on it a few times. I don't realize I'm doing it. I will make a negative comment about saying well, I'm just kind of being weak about this, or I'll paint my issue in a negative light, and then Jenna or that therapist have followed up with, well, why are you calling it this? And I need to stop viewing any mental health issues as an automatic negative. And I'd also like to get to this comment. As a Christian, I've been told my PTSD and anxiety is a spiritual issue and that I need to pray it away. It's really messed up. That's a terrible thing. And while since you're a Christian, there is someone I would recommend listening to. It's this guy, Dan Jacob from the Dear Christians podcast. And he basically goes after, I shouldn't say goes after, but he calls out these right-leaning Christians who try and force prayer instead of mental health on it. So if you need something to show your family from a Christian perspective, that heavily pushes mental health, I would recommend checking out his podcast.
Yeah. Prayer is not therapy.
No. The reality is, I mean, you got the same kind of. There's plenty of studies out there, that shows efficacy of prayer. That sadly it's bupkis, and I'm trying not to denigrate, your personal beliefs, but when it comes down to the empirical evidence, there is no evidence that supports the power of prayer as far as what the science has to show.
Right.
If it offers you any personal catharsis, that's between you and however you want to view it. But when it comes down to legitimate treatment, that is, I could argue that it's not treatment. It's no different than going to a church to deal with a broken leg. You're not going to get the kind of help that you need from a church that you would from an actual mental health facility that actually.
That's a good analogy. I like that. We should we'll get to our next caller.
Well, before we do that, I wanted to respond to Sky. As an older sibling who has come out of a household that I don't necessarily define as healthy. So just to give from my own personal experience, what I can say, and from learning from being to several different therapists and caring and worrying a lot about younger siblings at times, the best thing that I think that I could do was to be an example rather than to try to tell them what to do, just like parents tend to tell kids what to do. Instead of telling them what to do, be open with them about what you're doing and what benefit you get from it, because they're more likely to kind of listen and learn from your experience, and rather than take it as like a dictation. And show them that you love them. So when you worry about them and when you want to tell them that you love them, do that. Every time you want to tell them that you love them, do that. Because I think that that's not something that unhealthy households show a lot of. Also, to reassure yourself in the case that you can't do anything, because a lot of the times it's not as bad enough to report it to CPS or anything like that, to remember that you made it out just, and are surviving on your own, and that they can do it too. So I just wanted to say that.